Alright everybody, so tonight we did the weld table, and I just wanted to make this short video again of basically I'm going to scale down. I've got full dimensions here, we've got a full size, okay, and you can see these dimension lines. We'll look at them here in a minute. They were 23.5, and so by the time we scroll in we're at 30.437. These are real dimensions, okay. Got this kind of set up this way. Anyway, so let's get to it. We got our title block over here. Let me go ahead and pick and highlight all of this, and I'm going to scale this down. You can take it from a specific point. I usually like to pull this one section. That's making it bigger. You know, you can kind of mess around with this a little bit if you'd like. You can make it smaller. In this case it's stuck going heavy or larger, so I'm going to hit 0.1 and let's hit enter, and you can see roughly what we did. So let's pick this up, let's move it, doesn't matter where. I'm just going to scroll in here to where I kind of like where it sits. Okay, I want some dimensions over to my left, and then if I can pull one up top for my outside dimension, that'd be great. So let me set it about right there. Alright. Excuse me. So if you notice, when we brought this in the scale 1 to 10, we have this down here, so it shrunk those down as well, 10. So naturally your decimal point would shift over. Power of the metric system, right? Tens, hundreds, thousands. So 23.5 is our real dimension. Let's talk about how to get that back to it again. Okay. So the key point that we have to do is we need to highlight all of this and select everything that we're doing. Okay. We're going to come up here to annotation, and you're going to have a tendency to want to come underneath of this one and hit this linear. Don't. Let's come underneath of here, this drop down menu, and we want to come over here to the dimension style. Okay. This is our text style, this is our dimension style. Click it. It's going to bring our part up. Leave this at standard. We're going to go to modify, and we want to do it in primary units. So we can see our scale factor now is 1 to 1, which it was brought down. So now what we need to do is we shrunk it by 0.1. So now, and it explains this and this, we need to take this to a power of 10, right? Because we did it just 0.1 in the 10th position. So let's go 10 point, let me back up, we're there. I'm going to put my precision to 3 decimal places instead of 4 or 5 or whatever else, and go from there. We can leave all of this set up, like in your degrees you can go to decimals, or you can just put, you know, straight decimal degrees, you can do radians, graduands, and so forth. That's we'll talk about that a little bit later. Precision is set for 0. If you want to go to like if you're working with a bunch of 22.5 or 45s, you might want to go 0.1 or 0.0. Alright, okay, close, and then look. Now we have everything else where we want it. Okay, so we can pull, again, we can pull these out if we want. See, give us a little bit of room. Pick that up some right there, and then we can maneuver this leader over just a little bit. There we go. Alright, so, and we brought it in when we did our leaders. We brought our leader point in. I had to come down and actually take the snap off, because I want to point here instead of going up to this point. So I'll show you again just to make sure. The reason I took this off, let's put it on, is if I want to point here, see where the green box is going? It's always going to that corner. So Control Z, escape. Let me do a leader point again. Snap my reference geometry off, and then I can make it whatever I would like. Okay, so in this case, let's say this. Out here, let's call that part D. Okay, click over here, and at that point it's changed. We can escape out of it. Alright, okay, so that's how we get our dimension styles up. The other way we could do this, I showed you 2 ways. Let's just pick this stuff here. I right click, properties, and let me get it from my other screen here. When it does that, it's going to bring this up. So we need to figure out, like, we want to see which ones have a primary dimension or primary unit. There's no primary units here. So let me come down to rotated dimension, and naturally here's our primary units. As you can see, our dimension scale linear is at 10.0, and that's from where we changed it earlier the other way. The other way is a little faster and easier, I think, because you just come up and grab this and work through there. But both ways are effective. They do the same thing. Okay. This one you can get kind of wonky because, like, what if there's one, well, let's say there's a radius in here. Sometimes there's another radial dimension, and so you didn't click on it, that number may not change. But if you selected highlight and went with this one, everything changes. Okay, you don't have to go through this whole menu of dropping down through the 5. Okay? Alright, so then the next thing that we were going to do, that I said I would do in this video for you, is let's discuss how to move this over into our parts list. So I'm going to Control C. I'm going to bring it over to a parts list B. Okay, I went ahead and put a dimension on this so I can know what my text height would be. But let me go ahead and click here, Control V, and let me bring my part in where I want. Okay. Now at this point it might make more sense to pick this whole piece up and maneuver it up. I can see I'm roughly a 1/4 inch, so I'm just going to delete this. Okay. I can bring this in over to this side if I would like. Or really, with your parts list, you don't really need that dimension. What we need to see is a clear description of where we are. Okay? Alright, so from here, we're going to do text. We want to make sure that we're using single line. Okay? And again, my snap to geometry is off, because if you don't, it ends up putting the letter a little bit lower. So I usually come in about right there. And I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to see roughly what that would be. Okay? You could pick it up and do it in this direction, pick this way, or if you pick your multi-line text, come in here, let's just click it there. It's asking the rotation angle 0. So let's pick item B, or let's pick item A. Okay, either one. Start with A, and then I'm going to, so I don't like the way that's centered, so real quick I'm going to center that up, and I'm just using the space bar at this point. And we're going to need item A. We needed 4 of them. Okay, so 4, space bar over. Part number, I would put A36. And you could put square tubing. You could even make it more specific. If you want to break it down, you could put 2-inch square tubing. So squared, we naturally know it's 2 by 2, right? So then when we come over to our description, excuse me, we don't have to put the 2 by 2, but usually and generally that's what we want to do. Okay, 2-inch by 2-inch by 0.120, and at that point you can also put by, I think we were 30, well, let's pull, we don't have our dimension up here, but let's say 30.450, okay, inches. And that tells us it's a 2-inch by 2-inch by 120 wall by 30.45 inches. There's nothing specifying any angles, so that's what we're going to cut. Okay? Alright, so if I stop here, the good thing about this is I can escape from it. I'm going to come back into this section, and again, I can, if I double click it, I can come in and edit it. So the reason why, let's take a dimension here real quick. That was 30, that's 3.0437. Well, as you could tell on this one, when it come over, we did not change our dimension. So, oh, sorry, I'm still on dimension. Let's get everything again. Here, annotate, dimensional style, modify, primary units, and we want to take this scale back to 10. 10.00. Okay, and close. So now we're back to the dimensions that we needed to see. Okay, so 30.437. Let me come in and change that up a little. 37, and we're good. Out of it. Let me pick this again, and let me show you something else that I like to do. Let's say we copy this. I'm going to right click. I'm going to ask for a base point. Just say go like that. I can click it there, 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 and you get the point. And the reason this works out is because then you don't have to come through and like figure out your spaces and everything else. Now at this point I can just come through and do my editable text. So here's A, or that's B. Okay, and I can come over. It's still 2-inch tubing, 2x2, 120 wall, but let's say my measurement is well, we're 23.5 minus 2, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, and 8. So we're going to be 23.5 minus 8, so 18.500 inches. Okay? Alright. So now I've got part A, part B, and then the other part we discussed was how do we change some of this stuff. Again, double click it, it'll bring it up. It can't have any spaces in it. You can put weld, sorry, no spaces, weld table, enter, and then I want to change this to Chris, or I could put student. Okay, remember this is revision 1. We're in the size B, 11 by 17. Draw on the scale. Yeah, absolutely. We didn't. No, sorry. It's not. It is drawn to scale, not drawn no scale. So in this case, we're at 1, 10, and OK. All right. So this is what we want to see on our parts list. Make sure we got a leader showing where we're at. And if we were going to this piece right here, we could just put, you know, caster by. If we were putting a part description in here, I'd put match the number, 4 casters. Actually, it would be 2 because you'd have 2 fixed casters, right? So you could put caster by caster company, 4-inch caster company. And then over here, you know, you don't have to put a ton of detail, but I would say fixed caster, and then same thing here. And on this one, put rotating caster. So you specify the difference of which two, and so forth. Okay? All right, that should be it for today. Thanks.